Hello, geometry students. We're going to start proving angle relationships. So we're going to write proofs involving supplementary and complementary angles and also congruent and right angles. So you better have your packet with you because we have a lot to fill out in our packet. And pause the video at any time to write these down. So here are our theorems. And we have the angle addition postulate, which you'll use quite often. Saying that two angles equal each other, equal another angle, or when they're added together they equal another angle. Supplement theorem we've kind of been using already. If two angles form a linear pair, then they are supplementary angles, like so. And I want you guys to write down the examples in your packet. Make sure you draw the picture so you know what they look like. And the complement theorem, if the non-common sides of two adjacent angles form a right angle, so if they make a right angle here, then they are complementary angles. And again, pause the video whenever you need to write these down. The next theorem, properties of angle congruence, we might already have this written down. Reflexive, symmetric, transitive. Now the symmetric property of congruence, that I don't think is in your packet. I'm not sure. It might be. Given that A equals B, then B equals A. And here's just a little proof for you to do that. The next one, congruent supplements theorem. Angles supplementary to the same angle or to congruent angles are congruent. And there's abbreviation if you want to use that. So if measure of angle 1 plus 2, measure of angle 2 equals 180, then the measure of angle 2 plus the measure of angle 3 equals 180, then angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. So that's what this says. Same thing with the complements theorem, congruent complements. If you have two angles that equal 90 and that angle plus another angle equals 90, then you could say those two angles are congruent that are not the same angle. And we have the vertical angles theorem. We've been using this before. Vertical angles are congruent. You could say that as well. So 2 and 4 are congruent, and 1 and 3 are congruent. Right angles theorems. 2.9 perpendicular lines intersect to form 4 right angles. And here's the example. Make sure you write down the pictures. All right angles are congruent. You'll be using that a lot. Perpendicular lines form congruent adjacent angles. And if two right angles are congruent and supplementary, then each angle is a right angle. So if they're congruent and supplementary, then we can say that they're both right angles. If two congruent angles form a linear pair and they are right angles, then they are right angles. So that's with right angles. That's a bunch of theorems with right angles. Okay, so now we want to try using this with proofs. Okay, so before we get started, again, I just want you to try and see, okay, if angle 1 and angle 2, or angle 1 and angle 3 are complementary. So these two angles equal 90, and 2 and 3 are complementary. Those two angles equal 90. We want to prove that these two are the same. All right. So we can't just state the theorem. We have to make sure that we go ahead and just write out what is our justification. How can we say that? So I have a few blanks that you need to fill in here, and I got you started. So just you don't even have to look at what I have. Kind of just look to see how would you go about doing this. If you know that these two are complementary, 1 and 3, and 2 and 3 are complementary, how can you say that 1 and 2 are congruent to one another? Alright, now that you've brainstormed some ways to do this, first and foremost you have to give your given, which is angle 1 and angle 3 are complementary, and angle 2 and angle 3 are complementary. So what does that mean to be complementary? First of all, we got to define that. What does that mean? What can we fill in there? Right, it means that these two angles, when you add them together, they equal 90. So let's just get that out of the way. So then, how did I get from this step to this step? How can I set those equal to each other? What did I do? Right, I just used substitution. Instead of writing 90, I went ahead and plugged in measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 3. Now I can say that these two angles equal each other. Measure of angle 3 and measure of angle 3, that equal each other. What property is that? Right, the reflexive property. I have to actually state that they're equal to each other. Now, substitution, what am I going to substitute in? Well, I'm going to say that these two are equal to each other now. Use the substitution property. And then I can say, now I'm going to add on my squiggle. When I add on the squiggle, that's the definition of complementary angles. Alright, so I'm sure you guys had some type of, you brainstormed some way, but this kind of just puts it in a format, a different format. Let's try another one. Some more fill in the blank. So angle WXY is a right angle. Angle 1 is congruent to angle 3. We want to prove that angle 2 and angle 1 equal 90. So go ahead and pause the video, brainstorm some ways you think you'd go about this. Okay, so obviously brainstorming, we want it to get some way. We want to replace angle 3 with angle 1. Alright, we want to replace those. So we want to show that they are that they equal 90. Angle 2 and angle 1. So what can we do here? We got our given. So now, why would I say that WXY equals 90? Well, that's the definition of a right angle. Oh man. Definition of a right angle, and I erased too much there. I should use my little eraser. So then this, when we're adding two baby angles together to make a big angle, that's the addition angles postulate. Addition angles postulate. So now we're going to go ahead, and what do you think we're going to substitute in? What do you think we could substitute in? Right. We can say measure of angle 2 plus measure of angle 3 equals 90. We're substituting in this 90 degrees right here. So now the other part given is that these two angles are congruent. So how do I get rid of my squiggle? Definition of congruent angles. Now what am I going to substitute in? There you go. Measure of angle 2 and the measure of angle 1 equals 90. That's substitution. So come with lots of questions. This is just practice. We're going to do a lot of practice with proofs. So no worries if you're frustrated. Rewatch those proofs, those videos, to get the vocabulary down. Figure out the reasons. Your packet is going to be your best friend, and understand what those mean. All right? All right, we'll see y'all later.